All righty. Just just saving just saving some lives. That's all. Little interruption. Little little bat phone action. Bat phone call to the commander. Okay, so before we were so rudely interrupted by that poor man on the boat with appendicitis, uh, Hermione had just said, he's supposed to work out the clue on his own. Hermione said, it's in the tournament rules. I was supposed to work out how to get past the dragon on my own, too. Harry muttered, so only Hermione could hear him, and she grinned rather guiltily. Yeah, go on, Harry, open it, several people echoed. Lee passed Harry the egg, and Harry dug his fingernails into the groove that ran all the way around it and prissed it open? I guess that's a British term. Pried it. In America, we say pry. He gonna pry that open. He gonna rip it open. It was hollow and completely empty. But the moment Harry opened it, the most horrible noise, a loud, screechy wailing, filled the room. The nearest thing to it Harry had ever heard was the ghost orchestra at Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day party, who had all been playing the musical Saw. Shut it! Fred bellowed, his hands over his ears. What was that? Said Seamus Finnegan, staring at the egg as Harry slammed it shut. Sounded like a banshee. Maybe you've got to get past one of those next, Harry. It was someone being tortured, said Neville, who had gone very white and spilled sausage rolls all over the floor. You're going to have to fight the Cruciatus curse. Don't be a prat, Neville. That's illegal, said George. They wouldn't use the Cruciatus curse on the champions. I thought it sounded a bit like Percy singing. Maybe you've got to attack him while he's in the shower, Harry. Want a jam tart, Hermione? Said Fred. It's kind of out of the blue. Hermione looked doubtfully at the plate he was offering her. Fred grinned. It's all right, he said. I haven't done anything to them. It's the custard creams you've got to watch out for. Neville, who had just bitten into a custard cream, choked and spit it out. Fred laughed. Just my little joke, Neville. Hermione took a jam tart. Then she said, Did you get all this from the kitchens, Fred? Yep, said Fred, grinning at her. He put on a high-pitched squeak and imitated a house elf. Anything we can get you, sir. Anything at all. They're dead helpful. Get me a roast ox if I said I was peckish. How do you get in there? Hermione said, in an innocently casual sort of voice. Easy, said Fred. Concealed door behind a painting of a bowl of fruit. Just tickle the pear and it giggles, and... He stopped and looked suspiciously at her. Why? Nothing, said Hermione. Gonna try and lead the house elves out on strike now, are you? Said George. Going to give up all the leaflet stuff and try and stir them up into a rebellion? Several people chortled. Hermione didn't answer. Don't you go upsetting them and telling them they've got to take clothes and salaries, said Fred warningly. You'll put them off their cooking. Just then, Neville caused a slight diversion by turning into a large canary. Ah! Goomy. Oh, sorry, Neville, Fred shouted over all the laughter. I forgot. It was the custard creams we hexed. Within a minute, however, Neville had molted, and once his feathers had fallen off, he reappeared, looking entirely normal. He even joined in on the laughter. Canary creams, Fred shouted to the excitable crowd. George and I invented them. 7 sickles each. A bargain. It was nearly 1 in the morning when Harry finally went up to the dormitory with Ron, Neville, Seamus, and Dean. Before he pulled the curtains of his 4-poster shut, Harry set his tiny model of the Hungarian horntail on the table next to his bed, where it yawned, curled up, and closed its eyes. Really, Harry thought, as he pulled the hangings on his 4-poster closed. Hagrid had a point. They were all right, really, dragons. Well, that's a break. Thought I was frozen, didn't you? Thought the screen had stopped. Just kidding! The start of December brought wind and sleet to Hogwarts. Drafty though the castle always was in winter, Harry was glad of its fires and thick walls every time he passed the Durmstrang ship on the lake, which was pitching in the high winds, its black sails billowing against the dark skies. He thought the Bowbottom's caravan was likely to be pretty chilly, too. Oh, my screen just tried to shut off on me. Hagrid, he noticed, was keeping Madame Maxime's horses well provided with their preferred drink of single malt whiskey. The fumes wafting from the trough in the corner of their paddock was enough to make the entire Care of Magical Creatures class lightheaded. This was helpful as they were still tending the horrible Scroots and needed their wits about them. I'm not sure whether they hibernate or not. Hagrid told the shivering class in the Windy Pumpkin Patch next lesson. I'm not sure whether they hibernate or not, Hagrid said. Thought we'd just try and see if they'd fancy to kip. We'll just settle them down in these boxes. There were now only 10 Scroots left. Apparently their desire to kill one another had not been exorcised out of them. Each of them was now approaching 6 feet in length. Their thick gray armor, their powerful scuttling legs, their fire-blasting ends, their stings, their suckers, combined to make the Scroots the most repulsive things Harry had ever seen. The class looked dispirited at the enormous boxes Hagrid had brought out, all lined with pillows and fluffy blankets. We'll just lay them in here, Hagrid said, and put the lids on, and we'll see what happens. But the Scroots, it transpired, did not hibernate, and did not appreciate being forced into pillow-lined boxes and nailed in. Hagrid was soon yelling, "Don't panic! No, don't panic!" While the Scroots rampaged around the pumpkin patch, now strewn with smoldering wreckage of boxes. Most of the class, Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle in the lead, had fled into Hagrid's cabin through the back door and barricaded themselves in. Harry, Ron, and Hermione, however, were among those who remained outside, trying to help Hagrid. Together they managed to restrain and tie up 9 of the Scroots. though at the cost of numerous burns and cuts. Finally, only one Scroot was left. "Don't frighten them now," Hagrid shouted as Ron and Harry used their wands to shoot jets of fiery sparks at the Scroot, which was advancing menacingly on them, its sting arched, quivering over its back. Just try and slip the rope around the sting, so he won't hurt any of the others." "Yeah, we wouldn't want that," Ron shouted angrily as he and Harry backed into the wall of Hagrid's cabin, still holding the Scroot off with their sparks.
Well, 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 this does look like fun."
"Who's that? Come to bother people again with her quick quotes quill. Not even reading anymore. Wait till next time."